Dear suppliers, at Airbus, we conduct our business with integrity and in compliance with all laws and regulations, and we expect the same of our suppliers. The adverse impact of bribery and influence trafficking cannot be overstated. It is not only unethical, but it's bad business as well. It increases the cost of doing business, it distorts competition, and it hinders the economic development of the communities that we serve. Companies that stay clean, on the other hand, will absolutely win a competitive advantage over time. As you probably know, we've recently resolved large enforcement actions with the French, UK, and US authorities relating to our historic misuse of third parties. This means that in the past, in some situations, Airbus's way of doing business was unethical. People in our company engaged in unacceptable behavior. We recognized that, we self-declared our shortcomings in 2016, and cooperated fully with the investigations. With these issues now behind us, our commitment to integrity has never been stronger. Over the past several years, we've dramatically improved our compliance program to meet the highest international standards. This includes ensuring transparency in our supply chain. In today's business environment, when it comes to fighting corruption, we are all working hand in hand. Our expectations of having the highest standards of business integrity apply not only to our employees, we expect the same of our suppliers. So together, let's ensure that we only engage in clean business, thereby simplifying the way we do business, protecting the communities in which we work, and building long-standing business relationships.
Indeed, you, our suppliers, represent up to 80% of the value of Airbus products, which is why it is crucial to engage together to demonstrate integrity in our respective business models. When it comes to ethics and compliance, our expectation of suppliers is clear. We will only do business with suppliers who share our values and do business ethically. This includes not only fraud, corruption, sanctions, and export control, but also sustainability at large, with human rights, health and safety, and the environment. In our industry, relations with suppliers are long-lasting ones and will only be mutually beneficial if we are aligned on how we do business. Transparency is therefore essential. Integrity is also key at each step of our procurement end-to-end process, from definition of our purchasing strategy, selection of our suppliers, contracting, up to control and monitoring of our supply chain. We are faced with formal expectations from authorities. This includes conducting compliance due diligence on our suppliers and monitoring supplier relationships. Any misbehavior or non-compliance has not only financial and reputational impacts, but can also create legal liability for companies and their employees, including you and me. Together, we must have zero tolerance for corruption. We express the specific expectations we have for suppliers in our supplier contracts and in our supplier code of conduct. We expect you to understand and embrace our expectations and communicate those expectations to any subcontractors or others working on Airbus matters. In short, we expect you to be vectors for positive change and to embrace the compliance journey that Airbus started on some years ago.
Ray and Jürgen have made clear that Airbus has zero tolerance for corruption and a strong focus on compliance within the supply chain. Now Saskia and I are here to speak to you about our expectations of you, our suppliers.
Our compliance program is both inward and outward facing. That means that much of our compliance program applies to our employees, like our code of conduct and our anti-corruption policy. But the program also sets forth requirements for our third-party relationships. When it comes to suppliers, our policies require that we conduct compliance due diligence on all third parties, including all suppliers. That due diligence is risk-based, meaning that low-risk suppliers may not even know we have conducted due diligence because it's conducted in the background. Other suppliers will be contacted for additional information and sometimes interviews. From time to time, we also exercise our contractual audit rights or otherwise contact suppliers to understand how business is being done for Airbus from the compliance perspective. Your cooperation and transparency in those exchanges will help us expedite our work, which will allow you to start working more quickly with Airbus. These exchanges also provide the opportunity for our respective companies to exchange on best practices, risks, and expectations to ensure we're aligned on how we do business.
In addition to participating in due diligence and ongoing monitoring, when required, your adherence to compliance includes a commitment to embrace the Airbus principles on how to conduct business. We express our expectations in our supplier code of conduct. It addresses all the topics we're talking about today: compliance to laws, anti-corruption, conflict of interest. And beyond business ethics, the supplier code of conduct covers other dimensions of sustainability: environment, health and safety, and human rights. These principles are also embedded in every new supplier contract. Now, there are two related topics we'd like to discuss today that can create risk for you, for us in our business relationships. There are conflicts of interest and corrupt payments. Now you may ask yourself, what are conflicts of interest? Why do they matter? A conflict of interest exists when your activity or your personal relation with someone could impact your independent judgment, causing you to act in a way in conflict with the best interest of your company. A conflict of interest, or even just the appearance of a conflict of interest, can harm reputations, lead to misuse of company resources, or jeopardize the trust that people have in your company. When facing a potential conflict of interest, you should always speak up and disclose it to your management. That allows the conflict to be mitigated and protects you and our company. Please remember, a conflict of interest as such is a normal situation. We all may have friends or relatives in other companies with which we work. But this situation must not influence our business decisions. So you have to be open and speak up so that we can have an agreed way to mitigate any risk for both parties.
Conflicts of interest can also be created or exacerbated through gifts and hospitality. Although gifts and hospitality can be a routine part of doing business, you should know that our employees are required to register gifts and hospitality offered to them, and they have to follow an internal approval process. In some circumstances, they will be required to decline proposed gifts and hospitality. What you as a supplier should know is that Airbus employees should not ask you for gifts and hospitality for themselves, for Airbus customers, or for public officials. And under no circumstance should gifts or hospitality be given to anyone in order to influence a business decision. On a related note, it goes without saying that corrupt payments are wholly prohibited by Airbus employees and by Airbus third parties working on Airbus's behalf. Within the realm of corrupt payments, Airbus also prohibits so-called facilitation payments. And here we're talking about small payments made to low-level government officials in order to accelerate a routine administrative action. Facilitation payments are not in line with Airbus's business principles. They are prohibited in most of the jurisdictions in which we work, and we prohibit all suppliers from making such payments on our behalf. If you have doubts about our expectations, don't hesitate to contact your Airbus point of contact, or you can contact Matthias or me, or email Airbus Compliance. Transparent discussion early in the relationship will help us identify and mitigate any risks that may exist for you, for us, or for our companies. In addition, the Airbus reporting channel, the Open Line, is available to confidentially report issues or concerns you may have.
In conclusion, we deeply value our supplier relationships, and we strive to work with suppliers who share our values so we can build long-lasting working relationships that will be mutually beneficial for you and for us. We thank you for your attention and look forward to our continued cooperation.